It's just so reassuring to know that you've always got food in the freezer, especially when it's home cooked. So if friends pop around, or you haven't had time to do shopping, or you're just absolutely exhausted, you know you can get a home cooked meal on the table really fast with the help of your Instant Pot. And ground beef or minced beef is one of the most flexible meats for batch cooking. So I've put together two of my favourite recipes, and at the end I'm going to show you a little gadget that I use to make sure I can get as much as possible in the freezer. So the first ground beef recipe I'm going to show you is my Ragu Bolognaise sauce that also has a bit of a secret ingredient there to make it a little bit lower cost and also to make it a little bit healthier too. So let's show you. So here's what we're going to use: our mince. So I'm cooking a double portion here, and that's about 800 grams of minced beef. We've got some onions, and we've got some celery, and then this would normally be 2 carrots, but this is a huge purple carrot. Let me just show you this. Look at the colour of that, looks like a beet. And then we have some rosemary, fresh from the garden in my case, but you can use dried herbs instead, and some garlic. Normally this would be a couple of cloves, but I've got more because this is from a tiny bulb of garlic from the garden. And then we've got some tinned tomatoes, some good quality tomato puree, and some wine, which you don't have to use, but it really does add something. And then there'll be some water. And then to make this dish super frugal, I am also adding some French lentils, puy lentils. So I think this is a really delicious way of making bolognese, and a great use of the Instant Pot, because of course the lentils cook down very quickly in there. So then we'll have some olive oil and some seasoning as we go along, and then we'll also add some red wine vinegar. So that's our ingredients. So let's get them prepared and into the Instant Pot. So I'm just now going to add in the herbs and the garlic. Give those a bit of a stir around. And this is lovely fresh rosemary. You could use sage, thyme. Good to have a quite hardy herb for this part of the recipe at least. Okay, so now I've pushed all of the vegetables to one side, and I'm going to just add a little bit more oil. And now I'm going to add in the mince. So what I've done there is press down on the meat so that it's kind of formed a bit of a seal on the bottom of the pan. What this is doing is allowing the mince to brown a little before it sort of releases all of its water. Right, we'll just let the mince fry there for a moment. Can you hear that? And while that's doing, I'm just going to season the mince a little. Just checking the veg to make sure they're not sticking. Oh, they're fine. Okay, so now I'm going to start breaking up the meat and letting the rest of it get cooked and browned here in the pan. So we're still on saute high. So now you can see that this is all brown now, although everything's purple from the purple carrots. So now I'm going to stir in the especially frugal and healthy ingredient, which is the puy lentils. And when you've got a pressure cooker, there's really no need to be buying canned lentils and beans, and you'll be amazed how cheap dried pulses are. So I've let the lentils go in and just soak up a bit of that flavour and oil. I'm going to add the wine. In it goes. And now we're going to let this wine really get into the mince and into the lentils. So we're going to boil it away completely. And then when you're ready, we're going to add in our tomatoes. I'm just using plum tomatoes. I just chop them up a bit with the wooden spoon. Same again. Then I've got, I think it's about 300 mils water. Okay, so general principle for pressure cooking is to reduce the liquid down by about a third. There we go. I'm going to add in the bay leaf I've just brought in from the garden. Turn off the saute now. Add my pressure cooker lid And if you're using the Instant Pot Duo, this might be called manual high. I'm going to give this about 15 minutes to get the lentils nicely cooked and the meat and flavours all blended in, and then I'm just going to let it slow release so I can go off now and do my other stuff and just let the Instant Pot do its thing. Okay, so the Instant Pot has been on slow release, so that's now been passive cooking for the last 26 minutes. So first of all, I'm going to let any remaining steam out. Oh, and in fact, it had just dropped as I was doing that, so this is ready now. Taking the lid off, trying not to let the steam go up. Ooh, lovely. Just give it that extra little boost of tomato at the end. That's just a quick stir in. And then if you can see that garlic there, I'll just squish that against the sides. There's the bay leaf. A little bit more seasoning, and then I'm going to add just a little bit of red wine and vinegar at the end. So let me show you the texture and the lentils. Hopefully you can see they've kept their shape, but actually they just mould into the bolognese really well, and they are amazing. That looks gorgeous, and bolognese sauce is our absolute favourite here, and I love it because I can cook it in the Instant Pot, just throw in some pasta, put one of my frozen bolognese cubes on top, and off we go. We've got dinner on the table really quickly. And if you want to see how I do that, I'll put a link in the description for you. So now let's move on to our second recipe, and this time it's another total favourite of mine, and that is chili con carne. And this chili con carne is made with black beans, which I absolutely adore, and I think they're so much nicer than red kidney beans. You may disagree. Let me know in the comments if you do. What's your favourite bean to put in chili con carne? And whatever it is, you can substitute it, but here's my recipe. So this chili recipe and the Bolognaise recipe I showed you earlier freeze really well. So let me show you how I freeze them, because once you know this, you are all set. It's basically like a large silicone ice cube tray, and it has a lid on top, so when you're freezing, it keeps the freezer burn off the top. And here's what I made earlier. Once your bolognese or chili is frozen, you can just pop it out, put that into a Ziploc bag or another freezer safe bag, get it airtight and put it in the freezer, and you're ready. Whoa! And you're ready to use these all over again. And if you want to see how I use my frozen bolognese blocks, take a look at this video and I'll see you over there.